Okay, we will see that because
Ceci's face.
Ceci's face.
Or intermediate.
It was a typo. She's created so much suspense.
I can't wait.
Okay, they are between 25 and 40 years old, and their prior knowledge are, considering only phonetics, they have some basic notions of phonetics because they have studied in our institute. And Nadine has taught them phonetics because she's a teacher for 5 years, more or less. So they have some general knowledge. Of course, they don't know how. Remember that they are teachers of different subjects. They don't know how to transcribe, for example, but they have several notions such as strong forms and yes. Okay. The lessons. Well, the topic of the lessons, what we are going to develop is stress, or are stress and accentuation. We're going to focus on that. Probably there might be some other things that come up in the classes, but our focus is on stress and accentuation. The length, well, we designed this thinking of 2 classes of 90 minutes each. Yes? So that would be 3 hours. Yep. Okay. And the objective. Raise students' awareness of the importance of recognizing stress and accentuation patterns for listening comprehension purposes. Remember that they are going to attend a congress, so they have to develop their listening skills. Yes?
Something that we can add is that we are going to practice many things that they already know for them to be trained, let's say, to listen to the talk.
2 weeks before the congress. And remember, they have been studying English for some years. Okay. Well, try to finish it because it's like I'm talking to them and I completely forgot about it. Okay. Class 1.
Okay. This is the warm-up that we're going to do. So, well, I'm going to show you 2 videos. Okay, the purpose of this kind of short warm-up is to show 2 different videos. Okay. First, we have Obama talking, delivering a speech. Okay, related to education. Okay, because the topic is education. Okay. And the other one is we have 2 friends. Okay, talking about education, but the context is more informal. Okay. Why did we decide to include this kind of activity in the videos? Because, as the teacher said before, and this is our justification, is coherent to start with marking the difference, okay, with highlighting, the difference between, for example, formal speech with with pauses, which is a very slow speech, okay. They do not use many contractions, okay. And we have the opposite, which is the dialogue situation.
So
okay,
it's like we present the extremes for them too.
Okay, I'm going to show you the videos. Okay, you're going to watch some minutes. Okay, each of the videos. Set.
Yes.
Se da por vencido.
It's not my computer, that's why.
Okay.
Now I know that for many of you, today is the first day of school. For those of you in kindergarten or starting middle or high school, it's your first day in a new school, so it's understandable if you're a little nervous. I imagine there's some seniors out there who are feeling pretty good right now. They just know where you're going. And no matter what grade you're in, some of you are probably wishing it were still summer, and you could have stayed in bed just a little bit longer this morning. I know that feeling. What up?
Enough. Thank you, Obama, for your presence. Okay, and this is the dialogue, okay?
beginning of the semester, and some other people have been shooting videos about this. I think
An intellectual mind. They sound like college graduates. They sound like a person who's been through the rigors that made them something different than what they were when they started out. So I think that's you know, people still understand exercise and sports and excellence, as Mentor Jefferson talks about how, you know, there's so people more interested these days in what happens on the football field.
Yeah.
I mean, I just
these words let's do this sport one for a second. Well, let's do the sport one. But I think, how many people do you think see it as if it were like a prison, and then they get to pretend it?
It's not important.
Okay. So, were you able to see the difference between the
Of
one?
course you do.
It's real.
But you have to think of the teachers.
Yes. Okay, so now you're going to do this activity, okay? You're going to mention after watching the videos and all that.
Why did it add effects and everything? For you to use it.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, you're going to complete this exercise, okay? You have here a cloud, okay, with several characteristics, okay, of each of the related to each of the videos you saw, okay? So you're going to write each characteristics in the chart, okay? Which corresponds. Okay, we can do it already.
Yes.
Listening to formal, fast speech, great use of contractions, incomplete, sorry, and interaction.
Okay, that's very good. Now the other one?
Listening one, well, shall I say it?
Formal, yes, formal sentences.
All the others.
Informal sentences.
Uses no, complete sentences.
Complete
Slow complete sentences, slow speech,
Yes.
No.
no interaction.
Less use of contractions.
Okay. Yes. Very good.
Very good, you have a 10.
Ah, thank you, teacher.
Yes.
So what did I mention? Yes, mention the characteristics you think you will find in the Congress, okay, if you will attend. Which of these characteristics?
Depends, in the break or during the class.
Okay, it depends, okay?
They're not expected to find students as so eager to
participate. Yeah. Okay. So now we will turn to activity 1. Okay. So you're going to listen to text or the first listening 1 again, and you will make a list of the most important words that you can hear, and this is related to stress when you emphasize certain words. Okay. So you know all this. Stress and
And in addition to that, remember that when we are training students to listen better, let's say, they have to focus on important words and relevant items and everything. So this
in
is
a sentence, okay? Remember that, for example, if you have a sentence and then the same word is repeated in another one, it won't carry the same stress, okay?
Now, I know that for many of you, today is the first day of school. And for those of you in kindergarten or starting middle or high school, it's your first day in a new school, so it's understandable if you're a little nervous. I imagine there's some seniors out there who are feeling pretty good right now. We're just somewhere here to go. And don't let-
You want to keep on listening?
Then you go.
You told us to present the moment.
Yes, now I'm curious.
Okay. So, what can you tell me? Which were the words that you could notice? Which of them?
I know.
Right.
I imagine
Kindergarten,
senior out there. First day.
First day. What about
New.
the attitude the children may have in that first day? Did you say something? Nervous. Very good.
And what about them?
Alertos.
In a new school,
Yes.
Many of you
wanted to leave like.
Okay.
Everything was awesome.
Okay. Very good.
Okay. Let's see the following activity. In activity number 2, they have to underline, we are going to present 3 sentences taken from the video, okay? They have to underline with red the most important words of the sentences and with blue the less important ones. For instance, you are given these 3 sentences. Well, you didn't listen to this part, but you did in the video. My mother didn't have the money to send me where all American kids went to school. What would you underline with red and what with blue?
My mother didn't.
Didn't have money to send all the American
Yo,
kids.
Yes.
That's teacher.
Your opinion does not count.
Exactly.
Yes.
Money is very important.
Okay.
Money is very important.
I would always emphasize money.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, in this way we are working with projections, yes, and then we're going to check with the listening again.
So that we
Machacar.
how do you say machacar?
Yes.
and you are going to use the same video for how many times, right?
Machacate.
Yes. Okay. Now, it's okay. Number 3. Activity number 3. We are going to give them in a sheet of paper a sentence, and they have to say. They have to think about the way of how they would utter the sentences. Yes, they have to think about it. They have to read it as if thinking this is correct. Yes, and then we are going to give them the same sentence but with some words highlighted or with a different color. Yes, and they have to imitate in a way this, or they have to follow this pattern. Yes, and the third step of this activity is to listen to the correct pronunciation, let's say, and try to imitate him. So we are following 3 different steps, little by little, let's say, we are reaching to the, yes, to the objective or to the goals, yes.
Sorry, so you may ask, why are we making them repeat and produce some utterances if they are only going to listen?
Yes.
But we are conscious that sometimes if you're in a congress and you want to make a question, I mean, you need to sound, I mean, confident and to know where to stress the words and everything. So that's why we make them utter sometimes, because we also want them.
She's laughing.
Also want them that I can be quiet. We also want them to be able to pronounce accurately.
Yes, and when we produce, we tend to be more conscious about the reception or the input that we receive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is another example, and the last one you're going to do it because you heard that. You listen to this sentence.
So it's understandable if you're ready to know.
Well, it's such a good memory. Yes, and then we give these.
It's understandable. They're nervous.
Yes, and then they listen and they check that they're the best one. Produce.
Imagine that those sentences are divided into.
Okay. Now we move to activity 4. This is a peer work and also a role play activity. Students are given a text to work with. One group has to read it as if it were a formal speech and the other one as if it were an informal talk. So they will have different texts, and for example, here we have
The same.
It's the same text.
well, the same text but adapted. I mean, text 1, and it's different from the second text. So the more formal text, for example, the first one that does not have hesitations and everything, pauses, they have to turn it into an informal conversation. Yes? And so then they come to the front and they pretend or try to say the text as if it were an informal situation. And the other way around with the other group. So they are given a text full of hesitations and contractions and everything, and they have to turn it into a very formal text and to see which are the changes that they will apply. Well, that's activity number. And that's all in relation to the first class. We have to say that we didn't decide to make a closure for the first class, but we decided to make a very final closure at the end of the second class.
now we're going to class 2, okay? It's been weeks and weeks and hours of exposure. Imagine that, okay? So, you told us. Okay, so again, we have a short warm-up, okay? So we're going to do some research. And the research is going to be related to these 4 words, okay? Probably there will be more words, okay? So, why do these words have 2 different kinds of pronunciation, okay? Because why now?
It's a noun, and
Very
it's a
good.
noun
You're
verb.
supposed to work with the computer, probably.
Yeah.
Or with
And do some
dictionaries.
research and
As regards and dictionaries, and the way they put the stress in the syllables, okay? In the way we emphasize a word, they may vary, okay? Whether it's a noun, or a verb, an adjective, as you said, okay? So can you utter those words in the 2 different progress?
Present and present, contrast and contrast, research and research.
Okay, and why did we choose these words?
Why?
Because they change, when
No,
they
we have a
change,
hugely
Because of the context, they are using.
Okay.
These are possible words. I mean,
Yes,
words they are
they
going
use.
to find.
they are meaningful.
Remember that the topic is related to education. Okay, and this is the first activity that we're going to play, okay? So we have just isolated words, okay? The purpose of this activity, okay, in presenting just isolated words is because we have to go from the smallest units of analysis, let's say, to complete texts. So, we're going to watch, again, a video, a TED Talk, a TED Talk, a TED Talk, a TED Talk. No, let's see. A TED Talk.
That's how Charlotte said it.
Which is based, I mean,
It's correct.
yes, a TED Talk on education, okay?
On education.
Yeah, I know, correct. I mean, Cecilia, come on.
We were taught TED Talk.
Listen.
I want to watch it.
It's really long.
Yes, no?
No, it's not.
Good morning. How are you? It's been great, hasn't it? I've been blown away by the whole thing. In fact, I'm leaving. There have been 3 themes, haven't there, running through the conference, which are relevant to what I want to talk about. One is the extraordinary evidence of human creativity in all of the presentations that we've had and in all the people here. Just the variety of it and the range of it. The second is that it's put us in a place where we have no idea what's going to happen in terms of the future. No idea how this may play out. I have an interest in education. Actually, what I find is everybody has an interest in education. Don't you? I find this very interesting. If you did it at a dinner party and you say you work in education, actually you're not often at dinner parties, frankly. Actually, if you work in education, you're not asked, you know, that. And you're never asked back, curiously, that's a thing that's strange to me. But if you are, and you say to somebody, they say, what do you do? And you say, you work in education, you can see the blood run from their face. Like, oh my God, you know, why me? It's my one night out all week.
Okay. So, these words that we have chosen, thank you, Agustina, my assistant. Okay. Well, they appear, I mean, you remember, I mean, you're supposed to be this group of teachers, okay? You were able to listen to these words in the video, okay? So, what you have to do now is to use the table notation that we taught you many years ago, okay? And apply it to these words.